A mental health poll from the American Psychiatric Association from 2025 found that of Americans, 67% are anxious about current events, 62% are anxious about keeping themselves or their family safe, 61% are anxious about their finances, and 59% are anxious about their health. And that was in May. It's now March of 2026, so it's been 10 months since these stats. No matter what year it is that you're finding this video, there are proactive, productive things that you can do with your anxiety. In this video, I'm going to give you a map that you can use to navigate your anxiety so you can learn what it's here to teach you and make your life better. First, we'll discuss where anxiety comes from. Then we'll explore 3 options for where anxiety goes. Anxiety comes from a sense of loss. That loss can be real, threatened, or imaginary. Losing your wallet can make you anxious. Anticipating going to the DMV to get a new ID and fearing that you're going to forget something important or that the line is going to take hours to get through can also make you anxious. FOMO is anxiety. Should I go to this crazy party or go to bed early to go on a hike tomorrow? What am I going to like more? What would I regret not doing? Should I do both? What's the right call? Underneath those questions, you'll find a fear of loss. Another version of loss that you can slice a bit differently is not being full of confidence. That looks like, because I'm not confident in my ability to do X, I'm going to lose Y. For example, not feeling prepared for a job interview, so you're afraid you'll lose the job. Or not being prepared for a test, and then you'll fail the class. Or giving a toast at your friend's wedding and fearing that you'll be judged. So anxiety comes from a present or perceived future loss. Right now, reflect on whatever you've been anxious about lately and view it through that lens. What is the loss that you've experienced or the loss that you're concerned about? Take this vague cloud of anxiety and look for what it is that you are losing or afraid of losing. This alone can be very clarifying. The first and very common place that anxiety goes occurs when we are passive with our anxiety. Here, it squirts out in the form of impulsivity. Imagine yourself as a tea kettle. As you become more anxious, your temperature rises. Eventually, you're boiling and the kettle starts whistling. That's the pressure finding a way out and escaping. Impulsivity can look so mundane because it's so common. You're stressed out about a project you're working on and then suddenly you're scrolling. You really mean to respond to a bunch of texts and then you're eating when you're not hungry. There's something you've been meaning to tell your partner and then you click play next on Netflix. Other easy examples are online shopping, playing games when you're not really enjoying them, or blurting something out that you later regret. You know, sidebar, if you're just doing something to fill time and you're not really enjoying it, I would bet that there's anxiety underneath it. Boredom often hides anxiety. So to map this part out, your job is to identify what your common impulsive outlets are. That way you can catch yourself in the act, realize that you've got anxiety going on, and then recognize what it is that you're afraid of losing. And then do the productive option for anxiety that we're going to cover soon. The second, and also very common option for where anxiety goes, happens when we are active and destructive with our anxiety. Here, we're beating ourselves up internally. A way to frame this is that you're being masochistic. Let's use that word to reflect on this behavior, which is pretty normalized inside of our culture. Masochism can take many forms. A voice in your head saying things are hopeless, or that you're worthless. It's the inner critic telling you can't do anything right. I used to believe that if I shared even a smidge of the emotional intensity within me, that I would be abandoned. Do you resonate with that? Let me know in the comments if you do. Masochism is the experience of worry you have when trying to control the uncontrollable. If I text this, will she respond? If I invest here, will the value go up? I want to live here, but is this place likely to get nuked? Trying to control future outcomes is trying to prevent future loss. If you're always in the future, then you're always in a place you can't control, and thus maintaining your worry, your anxiety, your masochism. Masochism occurs when you, in the present, relive a loss in the past and repeatedly tell yourself what you should have done instead. I shouldn't have gone to that party. I shouldn't have hired that person. I shouldn't have agreed to help Sam move. You can't impact the past, so this is also outside of your control. Another sidebar is that looping thoughts and rumination are both anxiety and they're masochistic. So if you identify that you're doing either, label it as such. Masochism perpetuates itself because it's inherently destructive, and destruction leads to loss, loss leads to anxiety, and anxiety goes back to masochism. To map out this part of anxiety, your job is to identify when you're beating yourself up at all. Then correctly label it as being anxious, use that to then identify what it is that you're afraid of losing, and then we're going to move on to the productive thing to do with anxiety. But before we get there, I want to point out the relationship between masochism and impulsivity. They create a kind of death loop. Let's say you're anxious about a coming job interview and you sit on it for too long. The kettle boils and you shoot off into impulsively shopping online and buy something you know you don't need. You don't have a job and you just bought something. So now the anxiety moves to masochism and you start flagellating yourself for spending money you don't have. You feel hopeless and the thought loops are running rampant. Then, to escape those thoughts, you impulsively eat well past the point of being full. Your attention is kind of dulled and hazy, but you can already hear the inner critic insulting you for overeating. And on and on. If you catch yourself in either impulsivity or masochism, you have the opportunity to choose something different. That brings us to the active, constructive place for anxiety to go, which is to be courageous. Viktor Frankl nails it with, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. The constructive, courageous route is a choice. You have to see it as an option to choose it. When you are informed by what you're afraid to lose, then you can discern effective paths towards addressing that reality or possibility. Plus, the more you do courage, the more confidence you'll cultivate. Confidence, real confidence, comes from doing. Not pretending, not imagining, but doing. Having a reservoir of confidence will help you navigate anxiety. And you must play where you are, not where you wish to be. Do not make that mistake. If you only have the confidence to just log into LinkedIn, not even apply to something, or ask a friend if they know someone who is cool and single, or respond to just one of many texts, then do that. That is a win. Let it be part of the reservoir that enables greater future action. You may also notice that when you're beating yourself up, you're probably pretty sad, or that when you're anxious, there's typically also a boundary that's been violated. To get the complete map of how sadness, anger, and boundaries impact your anxiety, so you can have the full options of what you can do, watch this one next.